She came to the United States from the Czech Republic over a decade ago to be an au pair and never left. Along the way, she taught herself English, put herself through both college and law school, and even managed to pass the bar on the very first try. Think you could pull off the same feat? Marie Hladikova, welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So what caused you to come to the United States to begin with?
After graduating from high school, I took a few years off to work, travel, and figure out if college is the best way for me to go. And as part of that plan, I came to the US under a State Department funded program, au pair program, and I thought that it was a great way to experience the US culture under a government program. And I stayed ever since. As you said, I loved it.
Did you ever intend to stay permanently?
I did not, no. But after a few months of living in the US, I came to really like the US culture, the way of life, and the overall attitude that people in the US have. And I decided that this was a great place to be. I decided to go to business school and eventually to law school. And those decisions I never regretted. So yes, it was great.
The US markets itself as being the land of opportunity. Has that always been the case for you?
Yes, but the climate is changing. So with the financial and economic crisis, it is much more difficult for young people to start their job, find a job, start a new career. But I do think that it is a great place to be, and you can actually make it happen if you work hard enough. And look at me. I came here with one suitcase, $100 in my pocket. I graduated from 2 schools, and I have a great job that I consider to be a great job. So I think that, there are many opportunities. America is still the land of many opportunities. And if you look at it, many big companies started, and successful companies started by immigrants that either came here to pursue education or other opportunities. So yes, you can still make it, but you have to be ready to work hard and maybe work much harder than everybody else.
Do you ever miss the Czech Republic?
I miss my friends and my family, and Czech Republic is a great place to visit on vacation, but I do consider Massachusetts my home now. I've been here for many years, and so if I considered accepting another assignment overseas, it would probably be either another country or another continent, but I do keep my options open, and I would consider it if the right opportunity came along.
Let's talk about your professional credentials. How would you characterize the best and worst aspects of a long-term assignment overseas?
Well, it depends on your personal goals and experiences. And I think that there are several factors that everybody or people that are considering overseas assignments should definitely consider. One of them is expectations. You have to set right expectations from the beginning. And there are a couple of questions you should actually ask yourself before accepting an overseas assignment. One of those would be, have you ever lived abroad, even on a short-term basis? Do you know somebody that did, and did you talk to them? Did you do your research? I mean, moving into a new country requires a high degree of change. You have to be adaptable to new environments. And I feel that ultimately you will fail if you move here from Europe or another country, and if you continue thinking the old way, if you continue to compare and contrast how things are done over there, how things are done over here. The most successful people I find is that they pick the best of both worlds, combine them, but ultimately, if you want to live and stay in the US, you have to start thinking like Americans.
Are you talking entrepreneurially or something else?
In a business sense, you have to adapt to the new business culture. Of course, business is done differently in Czech Republic than in the US and in many other countries, so you sort of have to adapt. But even in social settings, it takes a while to get the American way of life, and everything takes a little bit longer, but at the same time, it's easier. I think that Europe is unnecessarily complicated. We have too many rules that are sometimes difficult to follow. So I think that overall, US is more user-friendly, if you will, as a country, but business is done differently, and you have to adapt.
What do you consider to be the most difficult aspect of doing business in the United States?
People in the US are almost on a schedule. You have a lot of meetings, boom, 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 things get done very quickly, whereas in the Czech Republic, things take a little bit longer. You have to develop relationships. You will have a lot more meetings to get something accomplished than in the US. You will have to do a lot more communications in Czech Republic, but ultimately, we're not that much different.
You've spent a lot of time counseling companies on export compliance and the ways to do business either locally or internationally. Has your own experience been a plus?
Absolutely. I think that it always helps if you have people or meet people and work with people who have work and living experience from other countries. My experience was particularly helpful when I had clients that were interested in expanding in Eastern Europe or the Czech Republic. And I counseled companies across all industry sectors, exporting products or technologies all over the world. And I can tell you that the most successful companies are those that think long term, because overseas partners are not going to want to work with you if your motivations are not long-term motivations. Companies that spend a lot of resources, took the time to learn about other cultures, other business environments, developed good working partnerships. So it's important that companies consider those aspects as well.
Which is easier, exporting from the United States or importing from another country here?
Exporting from the United States, that is much easier. The US government has a number of resources that can help companies with exporting overseas. And I think that we make it, in many ways, easier. Our export controls make it slightly more difficult, but Europeans and other countries have the same export controls. So many people complain about export controls, but I think that if you look at it globally, we're not that much different, but we make exporting easier than importing for sure.
If you could choose one country to invest in for the second half of 2014, which one would it be?
I would say Brazil. They are growing. They're investing a lot of money now, especially with the Olympics and other developments. But overall, I think that Brazil is one of the countries where I would invest.
And one country to stay away from?
Russia. At this moment, it would be Russia.
Talk to us about becoming a U.S. citizen.
Well, it's an exciting proposition, of course. As I was living here under a green card, I wanted to participate actively in community, in the voting process, and I couldn't do that without being a citizen. And so I took the test, I took my oath, and I'm proud to be a U.S. citizen now.
And how long have you been a U.S. citizen?
I have been a U.S. citizen since 2009.
Good for you. Congratulations.
I believe. Thank you.
Marie Hladikova, export and import compliance and trade expert and proud U.S. citizen. What do kids, computers, and music all have in common?
How could you innovate your oil and vinegar salad dressing business from halfway around the world? But first, have you heard of Boomba Music?